Okay, let me just ask one or two people what they came up with. Yeah, who will be helpful. What did you come up with?
Oh God. Anything? Thought? Something that will happen. What do you think?
Recently, I just created some bad things. For
Okay.
example,
Could be good or bad.
In our daily life, with how to say, with development, all kinds of our left is very became the wonderful things in our opinion, in our ears. But actually we our directions is spend some others. For example,
We have to be fast. We have to.
for example, in our now, most of animals is in danger,
Okay.
and they can living rates is less and less.
Okay. Fine. Yeah. That's enough. Good.
So animals are in danger, and how about a girl?
Many jobs will replace by robots.
Okay.
Many jobs were replaced by robots. So yours was to do basically with work and technology, and yours is the environment, basically. So what kind of future thing did you think about? So a category is a kind of thing, like science, technology, okay? Let's see, environment and nature, basically your one, okay? So which one did yours fit into? So science, technology, computers, business, economy, nature, society and culture. Education, work, career. Yours is also about work and career. Psychological and spiritual well-being. Personal future, something about yourself, or it could be something else. So which category did yours fall into? So let's just have a quick vote, see which one you come under. Who chose something from number one? Science, technology, computers. Put up your hand. You did? Okay, maybe about 6 or 7. Business, economy, wealth. Okay, just a few. Nature and the environment. Okay, quite a lot, at least 10, 12 maybe. Society and culture. Okay, also quite a few, that's maybe 7 or 8, okay? Sometimes they mix up, right? Education, okay, about half a dozen, about 6. Work, career, yours is related, yes. Okay, just a couple, 2 or 3. Psychological, spiritual well-being. Okay, a few, not many. A personal future, something about yourself. Okay, just maybe 1. Something else, something completely different. Okay, in this class, quite a few chose this one, nature and the environment, and also quite a few science and technology. Yeah. It's quite normal for a lot of people. You're a bit unusual actually, okay? Maybe because you're deeper thinkers. When I ask about the future, many just choose science and technology, okay? Because when people think about the future, they often think about that. Okay, so this leads us to the second idea, that is, there are many different things that we can talk about with the future, not just about economics or business and technology. So I call this kind of thinking money and machines futures because it's very narrow. Okay, it's important to think about other things. Now if you look at the Hong Kong debate, okay, what were almost all the things that they were talking about to do with? Almost all of them to do with finance, money, technology. Not much about anything else. So when you start to think about something deeply, you start to look at what's missing. So I would call their kind of futures thinking money and machines futures. Okay, we're just going to move past these two, I think. Now I'm going to introduce you to an idea that I came up with, which I've written about, which is called deep futures. Deep means, of course, it's has more depth or a broader range of ideas in it. Okay. We're going to skip that one as well. Okay. So money and machines futures and deep futures. So before I tell you about deep futures, first of all, what does it mean by money and machines futures? Well, basically, money and machines futures is materialism. You focus on the things that you can get or consume or buy or use. So I have a new phone, it's very exciting, and we think about that. It's good to have these things, right? But if they're the only thing we think about, then maybe it's not a very broad or holistic society. Economic growth. Politicians love to talk about money, right? Growth, GDP. So money and machines futures are often talking about money and GDP. Okay, but the problem is these things tend to make short-term thinking, and sometimes people become selfish. They don't think about other people, okay? You might remember the story in Foshan about 3 or 4 years ago about that little girl who was run over by a truck. I think her name was Yue, and she fell over on the road, got run over, and the people just walked past, looking at their phone. Oh, it's a girl. Now keep walking, right? Keep looking at WeChat. So maybe part of the reason for this is that people just become a little bit too selfish. Maybe. Also, alienation. Now, alienation means that you feel disconnected or lost. Okay, not connected to nature, not connected to other people so much. Maybe also not connected to your body, because you're always focusing outward. And maybe there's something within us, some kind of a spiritual or psychological well-being. We also become disconnected. Okay. Now my last point here is, this is not to mean that business and money and capitalism are bad in themselves, because actually you can see there are many good things that come from capitalism and making money, but it just has to be balanced. And if it's balanced with some liberal ideas or even some socialist ideas, it can create a lot of progress. Yes. Today is the year 2018. Now in the year 1800, 218 years ago, what was the average age of a person who was born, okay, in a Western country? How old do you think they would grow up to be on average? Now today, the average person lives to about 80, okay, or maybe a bit, 78, 80, right? Japan, maybe a bit longer, 80, 82, women longer. How old do you think people lived to 200 years ago? Have a guess. 50 on average? Actually, the answer is in developed countries, 35, okay? In undeveloped countries like Africa, about 29. Yes. Now the reason, of course, is that a lot of children died, okay? About 1 in 5, 20% of children died by the age of 5, which is one of the reasons why people had a lot of children. Because you have 10 children, you can expect 2 of them to die by the time they are 5. Okay. People don't realize today how easily people died in the past. Doctors did not even wash their hands until the late 19th century. So women would go to have a baby, and they would have about a 1% chance of dying while you're having a baby. Okay. So if you had 10 babies, you had about a 10% chance of dying in the hospital while you had a baby. The doctors did not wash their hands because they did not know about germs, right? You know what germs are? They didn't even know about them until around that time. So capitalism helps people, helps medicine, life. Lots of things have improved. So we shouldn't say that capitalism, making money, is bad, because capitalism also drives innovation and change. Okay. I'm going to skip this one. Now, what about deep futures? Now, deep futures basically means it's okay to make money, it's okay to have capitalism, and technology is fantastic, right? As long as they are balanced with other things to make life a little more balanced. So, I believe also it's very important for us to understand the spiritual elements of life. But that doesn't mean the deeper psychological aspect of life. What does it mean to have a mind and be conscious and be able to use it in the world? And maybe it also means that there's something peculiar about having a mind that we do as human beings that makes us special. And we all know that humans are animals, but we are special animals because we can plan and think about the future, which makes us quite special. Okay. And this comes to the idea of ways of knowing and understanding the world. Now, in the last few hundred years, rational ways of knowing have helped human beings a lot. So rational basically means that mathematics and language and analysis, these ways of knowing have really helped human beings and science develop. But there are also other ways of knowing and understanding the world that are very, very important. And sometimes in the science and technology driven societies, we forget about those things. And they're extremely important for the well-being of human beings. So in my understanding of deep futures, we need to also encourage people to do things like meditate, to relax, okay, to be present with each other. To be present means that I'm here now, so my mind is here. I'm not thinking or using my mobile phone, which is what most people do these days, but you're actually to be present with people. And when you're present here now, there's something inside us that responds in a very positive way. But if we are not here now, our mind is always moving somewhere else, it kind of makes us feel a bit sick. Okay. So in this idea, the individual is important, and also the group. Competition is okay. It can bring out good things in people, but cooperation, people working together, is really important. Which is one of the reasons why at the College of Global Talent we try to get people to work in groups to solve problems. Is that what you do here as well in your honours college? You do a lot of group work, project work? It's good to work together, right? Yes. And we learn and grow our entire lives. Now, in our college, Professor Kwok, who's our dean, he's a little secret, right? He's over 70, right? But he's still learning and always trying new things. So it doesn't matter how old you are, you can still keep learning and growing. In fact, you will need to do that because the economy is changing now. It's not so easy just to get a job for 20 years, like my father did when he was young, right? Now, at my age, I'm over 50 now. The longest I ever worked for one school was 4 years. By the time you, maybe 40, let's say middle age, jobs will be changing probably even more. So you need to be able to learn and adapt and develop skills and be smart. Okay, just a few more things here. Now I took something here from the Tao Te Ching, which is a very famous Chinese book, right? Who's read the Tao Te Ching here? And have you read it? No? I'm surprised. Because I read the English version, but it's a very interesting book. It's a book of riddles. It's not easy to understand if you just use your rational mind. It's like trying to solve a series of problems. And when you read the English compared to the Chinese, it's not actually exactly the same thing, right? And if you read one person's translation, it can be quite different from the other one. And that's because the meaning is like a secret in the words, right? So this is a different way of knowing and understanding the world. It's as if there's something connected with you and the world, and It's actually within you or inside you. And this is the kind of knowing or learning that really only comes from meditation or looking inside yourself. And we don't learn that much about this kind of way of knowing anymore in the world. And I think it's very important that people spend some time to be able to do this. Because if we don't do it, then we lose something really important about what it is to be a human being. When I was young, a bit older than you by the way, maybe in my mid-20s, I started to learn meditation. And I used to record my dreams as well, right? I have dreams and I record them, and I would learn some things. So it's very interesting to look inside yourself and to learn. I could tell you some interesting stories about my dreams, but we don't have time today. So in what I call a deep future, people can express different ways of knowing and understanding. Okay. Here are three futurists. You might be surprised that futurists come in different shapes and sizes. The first guy, Junjie, is actually in Taiwan at the Tempkang Dashi. And his main idea is let's create communities. But the second guy here is actually Indian. So even India has futurists. You might not think of Indians as being that way inclined, but in fact they are. His name is Dada Shambhu Shivananda. Hope you can spell that. We'll give you a test later on, okay? Now the last guy, Ren Kurzweil, is an American. He has this idea that we'll take your mind and upload it onto a computer. So you will never die. So if you die, we just put your brain onto the computer. And then you wake up, oh, I'm in a computer. I want to die. I think I would want to die if I was on a computer. But that's his idea. So futurists can come in all different, they have all different ways of thinking about the world. Okay, so now I'm just going to quickly finish up here. Going back to the Greater Bay Area Initiative, so I've talked about that I think that some of the thinking in this area is a little bit shallow, mostly in Hong Kong at the debate, mostly talking about money and machines' futures. But what does it mean for you? Because you're very, very fortunate to be born just at a time when you are graduating from your undergraduate degree. I guess you'll graduate next year, will you? Maybe you'll do a master's degree or something. But you'll graduate in the next few years, and then you'll be going out into the world, right? But what a fantastic time to be alive. Just when this new bridge is opening to Hong Kong and connecting, or the fast road connecting everything. So you're actually in one of the most dynamic areas in the world. And I'm here too, so I'm very excited to be here. Now, a white elephant. What is a white elephant? This is a meaning in English that the government or someone makes a huge project and it doesn't work. And maybe it's a very big thing. Like in North Korea. You know North Korea? Where Kim Jong-un, his father Kim Jong-il, well, he's the boss basically, right? You don't say no to him. But they have a very big building in the capital there, which is a white elephant because it's not used very much. It's just there for the government to look good, right? To say I'm the boss. So some people think, but now Mr. Leo was the guy I told you about. He swam from Shenzhen to Hong Kong, right? Back in 1980. What would he think about this? So what is this? Well, you know what this is, right? It's the bridge between Zhuhai, Macau, and Hong Kong. It's the longest bridge in the world. Now, some people have criticized this, said it costs too much money. It's a white elephant just going to sit there. Now, what do you think? We don't know, right? But what do you think? Do you like this bridge? Anyone that doesn't like it? Maybe you'll get shot if you say you don't like it. I like this bridge. You know why I like it? Because it symbolizes something. It symbolizes the connection between the people in this area. And it symbolizes the growth of the area. And it's also quite a beautiful bridge, I think. Notice that what do you call this? The uprights, they look like a sail, like a boat, right? So it's quite artistic. Let me show you a couple of other white elephants. These are things that were built, that were big, that people criticized, and they said, this is rubbish, you should pull it down. This one. This one from my home country. This is the Sydney Opera House. That's not the bridge, but this building here. When it was built and finished in 1973, people criticized it. It took a long time, it was very expensive. The guy who designed it quit. He was a guy from Holland. And people said it's a white elephant, you know. Why have you wasted all this money on this thing? But now it's one of the most famous buildings in the world. So they were wrong. It's not a white elephant at all. Here's something else that was a white elephant. The Eiffel Tower in Paris. Do you know that when it was being built in 1887, that a lot of people said it's very ugly. My God, what is this thing? You know, it just looks like some kind of stick in the middle of the city. And they were actually going to pull it down at one point, but they decided to keep it up. And over the years, it became very famous, and now everybody knows what the Eiffel Tower is. I'm not talking about the one in Shenzhen either, by the way. This is the one in, yes. So people are wrong sometimes. Sometimes things that people call white elephants, they think are not good, they start to symbolize something about the spirit of a place. So I think that this bridge in time will come to symbolize the spirit of this area and the way that people connect. Because connecting is very important. Okay, almost there. So, my main point with talking about the Greater Bay Initiative, including my journey there, is that there's more to the future than just money and machines. It's about people as well. In this picture, what is missing from this picture? Yes, many aircraft. Flying cars. Flying cars, or maybe aircraft, yes. Where are the people? There's no people. Where are the trees? No trees. Where are the animals? See, be careful about how you think about the future, because the things that you forget about can be the things that are most important. And then, what happens? Why do you think those people in Hong Kong, the general public, they ask them, do you think the Greater Bay Area Initiative will benefit us? More than 60% said no. Because maybe they're used to the idea that some planners and business people, maybe even some governments, forget about the people. And they forget about connecting people. And they maybe only think about money and technology. Maybe that's why. What do you think? Now, this is my last picture, and you should know this guy. In a recent talk, Jack Ma Yun said he is very confident about the future. Why? He said he's not worried about the internet and AI taking over all the jobs. No, he's not worried, because he says they will take all the boring jobs. And then the internet will be there, and everyone will have an opportunity to do interesting, creative things using the internet and technology. That's what he thinks. So the IQ kind of things like calculation, translation, those things will be done by computers more and more. And that leaves the interesting things for the people to do. So he thinks EQ, that means emotional intelligence, will be very, very important. That's how people understand themselves and they understand each other, okay? And the last thing he talked about was LQ. What do you think that means? Something that starts with L? Actually, he talked about love. He thinks love is a very important thing. People have to learn how to love and connect with each other and love the world. Very important. So sometimes with money and machines kind of futures, we may get stuck in IQ, calculating how much money we get, GDP, and forgetting about the people. Okay, so the question then is, will the initiative benefit all of us, the Greater Bay Initiative, not just Hong Kong? Okay, in case you're interested in researching any of these areas, future studies, the way I do, there are some references that you can look at. These are things that I wrote, but many other people also wrote about these things, and I learned from other teachers as well. So maybe if you want to keep the PPT, you can look at those. And so here's my contact. I work at the College of Global Talent, just down the road. It's inside Benigong. And you can come and see me or contact me if you want to. There's my contact details. I'll be happy to hear from any of you. Okay, so thank you very much. Apparently we have a question. Do we have any time? Would anyone like to ask a question?
Thank you. I have one question. As we know, the bridge, which is connect Macau, Hong Kong, and Zhuhai, is cost a lot of money, and that bridge open the light every day, all the night. It's way a lot of money. And a few weeks before, some of my friends told me the bridge is wide at
Okay.
But I don't know much about the bridge connect Hong Kong and Japan. I don't know that bridge much about. I don't know much about that bridge. So I want to ask you. You said we don't know the future of the bridge. So maybe it's not a wide effort. So I want you to tell me more about this connect. What kind of this connect is important? What kind of disconnect?
Yeah, well, this is just my particular understanding. You know, when people think of cities, for example, or areas, they always think of the buildings or some of the special places. And like when people think of Paris, they think of the Eiffel Tower. Sydney, the Sydney Opera House or the bridge. San Francisco, they think of the Golden Gate Bridge, right? So these things symbolize something about the city. And because this bridge in Zhuhai, Macau to Hong Kong is so vast and huge, it shows that the people of this area and Chinese people can create things that are fantastic and take a lot of work and planning and thinking to be able to create. So it symbolizes something deep, right? So it costs this much money, right? To whatever you think this much money is to build the bridge. What is it? How many billions of dollars? I don't know. But then there's some value of that in the way it symbolizes progress or makes people want to work harder or work together. So the value is not just in the money, it may come in the sense of connection as well. But you know that Hong Kong and Shenzhen and Zhuhai and some of these places, their sense of connection to each other is not always strong. Right? There is something there, but sometimes they kind of fight against each other. So maybe the bridge will help people understand the connection between each other without taking away what is special about Hong Kong or Shenzhen or Zhuhai or Guangdong, all these Guangzhou, all these places are special. So it doesn't have to take away their identity. This is the way I think. I don't know what will happen in the economy in the future. I suppose there's a chance that if the economy is not good, it may cause problems, but it's a risk, right? Everything is a risk. The Sydney Opera House is a risk. Yes. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. I think it's a good thing. Okay, anyone else?
I think many cities or countries need to improvement. They must sacrifice some things, such as the fresh air, the beautiful environment. So how to balance the development and the environment? How to balance these?
Well, I hope that's something you will think about very deeply, because you will be the leader of the future as well. So the leaders have to work out those things. Yes, you're right. There's a price to pay for some things. Someone yesterday said something like, someone was complaining about something on Facebook, and I said, well, this is actually a very good time to live for people. We live better lives than most of our ancestors. My wife is a Dumbeira. When her parents were young, they actually had no food, and they had to go around looking for grass and leaves to try and eat because they didn't have enough food. Now everybody has enough food. Most people have enough food, so it's a wonderful time to be alive. But that's what I said. Now, someone else said, okay, it's great to be alive now, but the things that we are taking from the future, like the animals and the plants and the air that are being killed. So we have to think about the price. How big is the price that you're actually paying for what you're doing? I don't know quite what the answer to that is. I believe that Zhuhai, one of the reasons why I was told this, one of the reasons why Zhuhai did not develop as fast as some other areas is because the government wanted to protect the environment. That's what I was told. I don't know whether it's true or not. And if that's true, then, well, you know what people think of Zhuhai when they think of Zhuhai. They normally think of nice, clean area, fairly clean air, nice beaches, right, and so on. So maybe in saving the environment more, not perfect of course, lots of problems, but they will gain something better in the long run. So what the balance is, someone has to draw a line and say no, sometimes, right? Sometimes the people, like you, have to say no when the government or when the leader or the company does something you think is not right. I know it's a problem in China, in some places as well. You have to be careful when you it's like criticize the government or something like that. So you have to be mindful of those things. Yeah, that's about all I can say about it, yes. Any other questions?
I have two questions. First one is, what will the Great Bay Area Initiative benefit Zhuhai? What's your opinion? And the second one, do you think what our students can do for the GBA initiative?
Okay, well first of all, even though I'm speaking on the topic, I don't consider myself an expert on how it can help. But there's obvious ways, right? More and more people will come into this area, especially from Hong Kong, I think, and also maybe from the mainland, even coming through Hong Kong, Shenzhen, they don't go to Hong Kong, and then maybe they will come here. So obviously there'll be opportunities in business, tourism, connections as far as knowledge goes, because they'll bring understanding. Experts can come in more easily. I guess time will tell. I haven't really thought deeply about this problem, so I can know what I would say is still fairly not well developed. But I think it's pretty obvious that Zhuhai has a lot of potential because it's relatively undeveloped. Okay, and if it develops in the right way, then I think it will be a fantastic place to be. It's already developing very fast, so I'm confident. Well, the potential is definitely there. Whether they will handle it right or not, I don't know. So, and the second question was the students? Well, the good thing is there will be a lot of opportunities as far as work and business and education, all those areas. So whatever it is about you that's special, and you should always look inside yourself to see what kind of person you are. Okay, so this is kind of an inner thing. In a way, I think it's a spiritual thing, and I believe that in a way there's a connection between the world and the universe, if you like, and people. And we're here for a reason, in a certain sense, and that we're meant to be here at this time, and you are meant to be here at this time. So you should be asking yourself, what is your role in this? Okay, and the traditional way that people answer that question was, okay, you look in the market. Oh, okay, there's jobs for an engineer or a job as a teacher, and you just choose the one that is easiest. But there should be a lot of different options and possibilities for you people now, much more than in the old days. It's true. You have a lot more choice about what you do. It may not be easy, by the way. It's very demanding. For example, at the beginning of the 19th century, Chinese people often got married. Girls often got married when they were 13 or 14. Do you know that? Very young. But what else was there to do? Nothing. You turn into a young woman, and your job is to have a baby. That's it. Okay? And the man will do some labouring job. Think about that. But you have so many more choices. And you're in this area where there's so many things happening. So you're very, very blessed. Very, very blessed to be here at this time. But on the other hand, you also have to work harder. There is more asked of you. If you just have to have a baby when you're 15, right? You just do what nature does. You don't have to do or train. But if you want to become a professor or a doctor or a teacher or something, you have to train and work and sacrifice a long time. You'll probably be 25 or something, maybe even older in some cases, before you go out and get a full-time job. So there is some sacrifice along with that opportunity. So in some ways it's harder. It takes more effort and energy and time and investment to do that. So but the good thing is that as you do those things, as you learn and grow, you become a better person. Okay? You become a better person. You have the potential to learn about yourself and the world in a way that people in olden days maybe never did. So that's a really wonderful thing. So you should keep your eyes and ears open to possibilities.